defamatory statements, and also a reminder to the gallery that the use of a recording device is a breach of the Code of Meeting Practice, and anyone contravening or attempting to contravene will be expelled from the meeting. So I'd like to open the meeting, and first order of business is to bring in remote. Can I have a mover? So moved Councillor Cherry and seconded Councillor Flannery. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors, and welcome Councillor Carter and Councillor Butler. Councillors will now rise to do our acknowledgement of country and opportunity to say a prayer. Yass Valley Council recognises the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of the land, water and sky. We pay our respect to their elders, past, present and future emerging leaders. And we extend our respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who live in the Yass Valley local government area. Councillors, I invite you to join me in the prayer or take this moment to reflect. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon this council. Direct and prosper our deliberations to the true welfare of Australia and the people of Yass Valley. Amen. Councillors, we are all here. There are no apologies. Our first order of business next to declare any pecuniary interests or special disclosures.
I have no pecuniary interests or special disclosures other than I can't dance at all, but I am quite cold and I'm just wondering if there's any way of turning the heating up.
I think that's actually state control.
It could be.
I don't know, I noticed in this
It could be that fan of
is we've all got our jackets and beanies on.
I will just give it a team will work on that.
I'll keep standing and singing. It's just cold over this side, very cold.
Councillors, if you have a mind that that's intolerable, please we can put you with in response over there if it helps.
It's going on, councillor, but there's no one else that feels the cold. It's me, and I will dress more appropriately.
Any sense on our side, Kat?
All right.
What more have you?
Councillors, any declarations of pecuniary or interest or special disclosures as we continue on? I will declare a non-significant, non-pecuniary interest, but I will leave the room for 6.2, the dance school, 26 Rose Street, Murray Bay, and as I have a family member who attends one of the classes. Thank you. Councillor Carter.
In relation to agenda item 10.1, in the confidential section, I have a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest in relation to that matter. I will leave the meeting for that conversation.
Councillor, we will endeavour to put you in the lobby for that and bring you out in one piece. Thank you. All right, councillors, we now need to confirm the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 24th of July 2025. If I could have a mover, please. So moved Councillor Burgess and Councillor Flannery. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And now the minutes of the extraordinary meeting held on the 11th of August, and we have the addition of Councillor Cherry being present. Thank you. Can I have a mover for those amended minutes? Thank you, Councillor Cherry. And seconded, Councillor Cameron. All those in favour? Ayes have it. That's carried. Councillors, we're now moving on to what I thought was going to be one mayoral minute, but we now have 3. Councillors, there is a summary before you of the Drought Summit. And I have a recommendation for you that we receive a note, the summit summary, and we endorse the recommendations arising from the summit. including the immediate establishment of a New South Wales Drought Task Force, the reinstatement of drought as a natural disaster, provision of direct financial relief and urgent reform of support frameworks. And of course, because that's not our jurisdiction, that we write to the New South Wales Premier, Minister for Agriculture and relevant Commonwealth ministers conveying the urgent need for coordinated action as outlined in this report. And we continue to advocate in partnership with other affected local government areas to ensure that the voices of the Southern New South Wales area are central in shaping the state and national drought policy responses. And in the spirit of collaboration, if I can get a seconder for that, thank you, Councillor. Councillors, do you have any comments? Councillor Cameron.
I have two questions, Madam Mayor. Having reviewed the summary, I cannot see any mention of climate change or climate emergency. Was this discussed at all, as it does not appear as one of the strong themes to emerge from the conference?
Councillor, I don't believe that climate was the focus. However, in general, farmers are quite aware of environmental concerns in their area. Certainly the moisture in the soil content was raised several times as being a great concern for the farmers that were online.
Okay, and my second question, you again. In the report it says, what is needed now is strong, decisive government leadership that responds to the reality on the ground, which I think is admirable. So in regard to that, will you be contacting Minister Bowen, the Commonwealth Minister for Climate Change and Energy, demanding stronger action to mitigate the effects of climate change?
Councillor Cameron, if you would be amenable, I actually have a meeting tomorrow at 1 o'clock with the conveners of the Drought Summit so that we can push forward on the next steps, and I'll certainly raise that as a strong recommendation.
I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I think it only fitting that we give an opportunity for our resident farmer councillor, Yass, to actually say some words, because when I rang him after the summit and before the summit, and it was actually pretty humbling to hear Yass's comments on what's going on around.
It's rained in the last couple of days, which has helped a lot, and the rain will be in all sorts of trouble. It's a green drought. The grass is just trying to go, but it's been cold. We've got a couple of warm days the other day, and it's hard on the stock, still feeding. A lot of people still feeding. Some stopped off, but because a lot of sheep still there and are starting to land now, and you can't feed them while it's landing, because they leave the lambs and they probably don't go back when they go to have a feed. But it's pretty hard out there at the moment. The commodity prices are not too, wool's terrible, but the sheep prices are not too bad at the moment. They're up fairly well. But the stock are really doing it hard. I saw sheep this week, and there's 40 dead last night because of it just got so cold. I looked after them all day yesterday. I thought it was right last night, and they just perished last night in that cold. Right. That's a bit of a disaster. That's all I want to say.
Thanks, Yass.
Thank you, Councillor Burgess. So just moving on, I think we have a task ahead. Certainly it was good to see that both the Prime Minister and the Premier acknowledged the situation, that there is a green drought. It's the first time we've actually had those two leaders even mention the word in terms of the 5 regions that are actually in this green drought. Unfortunately, the response that we've had from Minister Moriarty's office has been more funding for coaching farmers on how to be resilient, which is at this point something that we need to indicate to them is this is beyond learning. This is actually a disaster.
Chairman, I'd like to say.
Yeah.
We had all this feed stored, we've used it all, it's all gone, because it's been going on, there was no spring last year,
Yeah.
there's no hay, the crops wasn't that great, and then we've just used it all, so there's nothing.
What's needed
And
now is
They
frank
think
water.
that we have another idea by storing enough food for the stock.
I found the response slightly insulting to farmers who've been, you know, as resilient as they can be and done everything that they can. So we'll certainly be crafting a polite but revealing comment about it.
And
Yes, Councillor.
man, thanks for what you've done for us farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
May I say something?
Councillor Flannery, please.
I come from a farming family. My family have only ever been farmers since arriving in Australia some time ago. What I find at the moment is the government's behaviour is patronising
Yes.
farmers. It's very patronising to say, gosh, we teach you how to do the metrics. And if we don't support farming families, we don't have these communities. Like, there's corporate farms, there's a whole lot of things, but farming families are the backbone of many rural communities. They're there, they've been there for the long term, and to have these people just waltz in and say, oh, you need to store feed. At the moment, half the country is flooded, and they are in generally highly populated areas. But in our areas where you've got farmers that wake up every day and have to feed stock and have to shoot stock and have to do a whole lot of things, I really want to stop the kind of patronising environment, and I wholeheartedly support what you're doing.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. May I just say that, you know, this is not my natural turf, and I've just really appreciated being able to have some really great suggestions from Councillor Burgess and Councillor Flannery with your suggestion about waiving the LLS fees. I've, you know, strongly put that forward. Apparently they've done it once before and learnt their lesson, because the LLS would have kicked up quite a stink. But nevertheless, we suggested it. All right, councillors, I'll just try and get some pace back on me. Let's put this one to the vote. All those in favour of that mayoral minute? Thank you, councillors, that's unanimous. Councillors, the next mayoral minute involves a fellow called Trent Robertson, who will undertake a challenge raising money for charity, running and riding from Parkdale, Victoria to Noosa, Queensland. And he'll be covering 2,000 kilometres in the space of 30 days. And Trent will be coming through Yass on the 8th and 9th of September and has requested the donation of 2 nights accommodation at the Yass Caravan Park. And the recommendation is to waive the fee for 2 nights accommodation of a powered site at the Yass Caravan Park, totalling $86 in support of the Noosa for Neuro charity event. And this just landed on the desk today. So I know we have a policy in the works, thanks to Councillor Butler, to streamline this process going forward, but until then we need to bring this forward. So I'll move that recommendation and seek a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Any comments? All those in favour? So moved unanimously. And good luck, Trent. Councillors, the third mayoral minute, I'll just see if I can have this brought up on the screen. Councillors, we had our Crago Mill Precinct Committee meeting last week? It's a busy week, it's a busy month. And thank you to the councillors who could attend. I know it's a very busy time of the month. We're running out of months before we get to when we're actually going to move into this building. So there's a few things we need to get some pace on that actually can't wait for the minutes to come to the next meeting for. So in order to start the community engagement process around naming of further Crago Mill precinct buildings, I'm seeking that council supports that council officers will operationalise the process for public engagement, exhibition and opinion to provide community sentiment for council to consider when determining the name, and that all shortlisted but not utilised names with permission be recorded for future possible opportunities for civic recognition in council-managed parks, open spaces and buildings. To give some context first, I'm seeking that council agree to the naming of the Crago Mill precinct buildings as it provides an opportunity to acknowledge and pay our respects to Ngunnawal elders and early Yass citizens for their exceptional and faithful community, civic or even national service. Council highly values the heritage, cultural diversity and country lifestyle of our vibrant town, and given the high level of public interest in the precinct, naming of the buildings is an important decision to make. Council acknowledges that the mill commonly known after P.T. Crago, who bought the building in 1899 as Crago Mill, will remain unchanged. And Council will seek from the community naming recommendations for both the administration building and the library building. Naming recommendations must have family permission for use of name and images facilitated through relevant advisory groups active in Yass Valley. So, councillors, there was a little bit of a poll that we did via email. I had 5 responses that were in favour of naming further buildings. 3 were in favour of naming all of the buildings. 2 were in favour of naming the Crago Mill, the administration and the library. So as stage 2 is under review, I figured let's take the process forward and we can amend if we get further information about the stage 2, if that's amenable. So councillors, there should be, just on the screen, if we can get down to the actual motion, which is that council officers will operationalise. Where's that section?
It's the second last paragraph. Council
Oh,
officers
thank
will
you. It's just kind of all blended into one there. Yes, thank you. So that's the motion before you. Now I've kept it broad because there, we might be waiting for some groups to come back online. For example, the Honourable Lauk might need time to come back online. So whatever's active, whatever group is active, we will attempt to consult with. And I can imagine groups such as the Historical Society, the Yass RSL sub-branch, the Yass Valley Business Chamber might like to be involved. But if we keep it broad, then the council officers can move forward on the recommendation. Councillors, do I have a seconder for that there in a minute? Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Any further commentary? Debate? Councillor Carter.
Just a question. Through you, Madam Mayor, to I'm assuming the Director of Corporate and Community. What is the cost associated with this, and is there budget? Sorry, my light's just gone out. Is there cost associated? Is there budget associated with being able to deliver on this project?
I'll refer to the acting CEO, who's the directorate responsible for this project.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the budget for this will be taken out of the Crago Mill precinct project, the current $50 million project that we're undertaking. As the Mayor mentioned, stage 2 is currently under review, and the commercial building probably won't be taken part of this process, but yes, there is a budget allocated as part of the current operational plan.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Let's put that to a vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. All right, well done. Moving on to our planning items. Item 6.1, the development application DA 240266 dwelling house 46 Melvac Drive, Murray. Councillor Cherry.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the following motion, and if we could get that up on the screen, that would be much appreciated, please. Do you want to see that? Oh, I'll read it. For all those that can't see that, I'll read the following motion that I'm putting forward. That consideration of development application DA 240266 for a dwelling house, rainwater and tank associated retaining walls and fencing at 46 Malbec Drive, Murrumbidgee be deferred to enable the applicant to submit amended plans. The amended plans are to address the following matters. A, to reduce the bulk and scale of the dwelling to achieve consistency with the established and desired character of the locality. B, to demonstrate compliance with the objectives of Part B5, Neighbourhood Character of the Yass Valley Development Control Plan 2024. C, modify the design and siting to minimise cut and fill in accordance with Part E1, siting of buildings of the DCP. And paragraph 3, the application be reported back to Council following submission and assessment of amended plans. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Cherry. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cherry, I will second your motion. Alright, councillor Cherry, you now have the floor to speak to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, fellow councillors, I rise to move this motion to defer determination of DA 240266, 46 Malbec Drive, to allow the applicant an opportunity to bring forward amended plans. As a Murray-Bateman resident, I am very familiar with the character of our village and the surrounding fringe. I know that there are already some very large dwellings in the area, and in particular along Jeeparoo Drive. And I want to acknowledge up front that bigger homes are not unusual for this locality. Families are investing heavily in Murray-Bateman, and I understand the applicant's desire to create something significant for their intergenerational family property. And I acknowledge that Helen and Ian are not here right now, but they briefed us during the public forum. But as a consent authority, we have to balance those aspirations with our responsibility to protect neighbourhood character, amenity, and the intent of our planning controls. This application, in its current form, has raised consistent concerns from residents about bulk, scale, and visual impact. And those concerns are not without merit when you consider the objectives of the Yass Valley Development Control Plan. My intent behind this motion is to give the applicant a reasonable opportunity to amend their plans to address 3 key issues: reducing bulk and scale to better align with character, insurance compliance with the neighbourhood character objectives of the DCP, and minimising excavation to comply with siting controls for sloping land. This is a fair and constructive pathway, I strongly believe. It does not close the door on development, it simply asks for refinements that will ensure this home fits more comfortably within its context and respects the expectations of surrounding residents. I commend this motion to you, my fellow councillors, as a balanced approach that respects our planning framework and gives the applicant a genuine chance to succeed with an amended proposal. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillor Cherry. As seconder of the motion, I will just add a few comments. I note that of the surrounding properties, in terms of the disproportionate scale of where this sits, it has a total floor area of 2,917 metres squared versus 267, 290, 364 and 541 of the immediate neighbouring areas. So even with the largest of those, it's 5 times the size. And to put it in context, it's only just slightly smaller than the combined footprint of the commercial precinct of the Crago Mill in terms of the admin building and the library. So I have no hesitation to know that even with reducing the scale, the applicants will still be able to fulfil what they're trying to achieve in terms of individual bedrooms for the intergenerational family that they have. And I think Councillor Cherry is correct in saying that we really need to strike the balance of the DCP in terms of not dominating the streetscape, and I think we will be able to achieve that if the applicants can cooperate with that. Councillors, do we have any further debate?
Just a question, Mayor, in the event that this motion is carried, what comeback does the applicant have in terms of if they're not prepared to meet the council and redesign the home? And I imagine they have already spent a very considerable amount of money coming up with the design that they have. What recourse do they have? Is there grounds for appeal?
Councillor McGrath,
Through you, Madam Mayor, sorry, can I, for this particular motion, So we're to defer it and request further information.
Yeah.
So, sorry, because it's been more than 40 days, they have deemed refusal rights, so they can, on the 41st day, appeal to the Land Environment Court.
Thank you.
Councillors, do we have any further?
I don't quite know if I'm speaking for or against, so maybe as I start speaking, I'll try and articulate. On the whole, I think the building is too large. I think that that's a personal judgment, and it's a judgment to do with sustainability, heating houses. I think in the world that we live in, we all need to be mindful, even if we have the money, to be mindful of our resources. They're not infinite, and storing water and things. I'm also really understand people wanting to make their own place, and so it's a value judgment of what is too large. And so I think that we're in a difficult position, but I do note that the people that live in the street are all quite shocked by the size, and I think most people would be shocked by the size. But I also feel that the family have lived in the area for a long time. They are, great. They're business people. They bring business in. They employ people. So I think that when we make our decision, we just need to kind of try to weigh that up. Of, if they're asking 3 or 4 times the size of a house in that area, and the motion is that we to achieve consistency with the established and desired character of the locality, are we asking them to make it, 300 square metres? Like, what are we asking them? So I'm just wondering if that is what it says.
I'm glad you've asked that question, because
Yes.
I've asked it earlier today, and I'll allow the director to give the advice more succinctly. But it can actually be achieved without the floor space ratio being too impacted, but it can create a different. Actually, I'm just going to let the director to take over, because you explained it more succinctly to me.
Yes, so through you, Madam
Yes.
Mayor, it can be achieved through, I guess, a different design.
So it being just isn't, sorry, if you could just articulate what it is. Right, the house they
The
can achieve what they
number
want
of bedrooms, and
Yeah.
I guess the internal amenities and the facilities could be achieved, but through a
to different design.
different design, because
And-
ultimately it's the bulk and scale that's causing the
And I was also wondering if the basketball court was not internal, if it was external. I know that we have a bit of inclement weather and things, but if that also was a potential way of reducing some of the bulk of because you need the height and everything like that for a basketball court. But I'm not an architect, I'm a landscape architect, so I like outdoor spaces.
If it assists you, Councillor Flannery, previously council has rejected applications on similar grounds. One Macintosh Circuit in Murrumbateman, which was a horse arena.
I was about to say it might be similar to a horse arena.
Yeah, so that was 80 metres by 36 by 7.2, so that had a floor space of 2,880 metres, and just noting that when that came back with an amendment, it was reduced to 1,440 square metres. And 6 Discovery Drive, which was the erection of a 2-storey building for purposes of 2-bedroom dwelling house, creating a dual occupancy with mezzanine, veranda, balcony, garage, workshop, with earthworks and stormwater drainage realignment works, and the importation of approximately 900 metres cubed of fill material and tree removal. The form and the design of the proposed building, especially by way of size and scale, was deemed inconsistent and incompatible with the surrounding development and character of the locality. And there was insufficient information shown on the elevation drawings as well. So we rejected that one as well, based on how it would impact.
So the motion that is in front of us point A, reduce the bulk and scale of the dwelling to achieve consistency with the established and desired character of the locality. Do we feel that that is in fact saying that it should be of a similar size to the other houses? Because I do not, I don't want to say you have to have a house that is the same size or 10% bigger than, because they are culturally and personal reasons they're putting multiple families in there. And being on the aged care board, I think it's tremendously commendable that they're keeping people ageing in place.
I quite agree with something. In the reasons behind what they're doing are very noble and commendable. I think it's the scale and the bulk in one vista in terms of the how it impacts on the environment, and I don't disagree with the objector in the open forum who said this will become their landscape out their window as opposed to their larger landscape. Councillor Burgess has been waiting very patiently.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I've known Ian and Ellen for 20 years, because they're on Dix Creek Road with their mushroom farm. I remember when it came to the council, that there was objections, tried to stop them, but you want to see the business there now. It's good business, they employ a lot of local people. I'll vote against that motion. I think they do a lot for foster children, they're looking after their own people. They're not going to homes, the old people, they get them in there and they look after them and they bring their families there, and I think the council recommends it, go ahead, let's do it.
Thank you, Councillor Burgess. Councillor Cameron.
I'm still not quite clear. I think the problem that I have with this motion is A, is section A. And I suppose the question I really want to ask, I probably through you, Madam Mayor, to the Director, is it feasible? Is what's there, A, feasible? If you say yes, I'll vote for the motion. If you say no, I won't. So it's on you.
That's a problem. Hard
So,
work.
No, but is it
Councillor
feasible?
Cameron, can you just say, is it feasible that they can make a house that they want that's consistent? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Because that's what I feel has been answered.
I find it's an interesting idea, but I'm not sure if it's feasible. And I don't like voting for motions, not usually, that are not feasible.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just to state some facts.
Yeah.
Staff requested on 2 occasions that the bulk and scale is reduced.
And they haven't come to the party? Sorry.
What's presented in front of you is the result of that. They were non-compliant with the DCP, so we put that back to them. They have then come back, we've gone back twice, and then they've come back, and this is the final version of plans that you have in front of you.
Thank you.
So I think the concession that was made was the reduction in the height of the roof, but that was the only concession.
Yes.
Okay,
The trees were retained.
correct.
I mean,
Alright, Councillor McGrath.
I don't think we should overlook the fact that the scale of the land is not in conformity with the land surround either. We're talking about 3 blocks, basically 3 blocks to accommodate this house. So, I just feel that that's worth taking into account in terms of the scale. If this house was going onto a similar block to the others, well, absolutely. But 3 blocks of land, it does. It's a hard one, I know, and we're not used to seeing DAs for houses on this scale. Just go over to Jurabonga, go over to the Kings Way outside Queenman, and you'll see a lot of them.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Councillor Butler.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Jones. I just had a question, probably to the Acting Director for Planning and Environment. When this item came to Council originally to amalgamate the 3 blocks. I'm not sure when that was, but it was definitely only a few months ago or potentially last year. Did they give you any indication at that time of the scale of the building and what they wanted to do with the amalgamation of those blocks? Because we all, I'm pretty sure it was us as a council that voted for that they should be able to amalgamate those blocks. No, it wasn't. Sorry. Thank you, Councillor Carter. Yeah, if you could just clarify how that happened, and then I just have a follow-up question as well.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So I have to just get this right. So the subdivision was approved by council, but the lots weren't formally registered. The developer then came back with a modification, resulting in the 3 lots being consolidated into one large lot. That was approved, and then the lots were formally registered. But there was no, I don't believe, and we wouldn't ask for a reason as to why. We would simply look at the minimum lot size and then other constraints, biodiversity, flooding, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you. I just would like to clarify as well. We've referred to the size of the house, I suppose, informally, as being almost 3,000 square metres, 2,917 square metres. However, I really want to drive home that that's not the size of the house. It's really not. I mean, it's still large, but what I'm seeing here is that the habitable area is 1,800 square metres. So still very big, but I think we should stop referring to it as a house that is 3,000 square metres, because that's not actually entirely correct. And so I'm really conflicted on this one, and I do somewhat agree with the alternate motion, and it's unfortunate that I can't actually see it in front of me on the screen, but I understand the gist of it. But what I'm concerned about is I'm a real passionate advocate for autonomy and people to be able to make their own choices in terms of what house they want to live in, what colour it is going to be, as long as it's not completely unreasonable. And I think what this is demonstrating is that as a council, we actually don't really have any idea of what is reasonable at this point in time. So it's making it hard for people to be able to present plans when we don't really have any idea of what we're wanting them to achieve. So as it stands, this actually does comply with everything, but I feel like, you know, we could be looked upon as a council as saying, well, we just don't really like that and we don't really think that that's, you know, fitting, but we can't give them any solid evidence as to, you know, what and why. So I mean, I would like to see a more firm establishment of what is acceptable, what is the upper limits of habitable areas in Murrumbidgee or in these zones, because it'll make it a lot easier for council to be able to make decisions. I feel Australia in general, in my opinion, has a little bit of a tall poppy syndrome. And I just fear that sometimes these things are boxed into those areas where people just aren't allowed to have anything. They're not allowed to show their, you know, their wealth or their prosperity or speak highly of themselves when they've, you know, had good achievements in life. And I don't want this to fall into that basket. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Do we have any further speakers? Councillor Carter.
So I'll try to muster some voice to speak this. We do know that the average house size in Australia is about 236 square metres. And so this is, and that broadly is the character of that area. And that is the one test that hasn't necessarily been applied in that's the discretion that council has in relation to the character of the area. It doesn't mandate a particular size in relation to that. I think that the slightly contrary point to what Councillor Butler was suggesting, though, is it will be one building. So I agree with the point that the actual dwelling size in terms of livable space sits at around 1,800 square metres or so, but the building appears as effectively one whole building. One way might be to separate out those components, and that might get around those particular characteristics. The challenge ultimately is that and about 1% of Australian properties are above 1,500 square metres in terms of livable size. So this is an exceptional property compared to general Australian characteristics. While I appreciate all that the submitters have suggested in relation to their activities within the region, my thanks to them for their work in terms of both business, in terms of fostering and the like. Their committal to their extended family group is admirable as well. I think there is scope here to just revisit the sheer scope of the plan in terms of what it looks like. And the fact that council asked for that on a number of occasions and there was only minor modifications indicates that there is at least some discomfort with the scale of this property more generally. I think the direction is there to the applicant that perhaps three separable buildings might be the better approach. And we know that there's other parts to this that they're also interested in adding to this property as well as time goes by. So I think we have to keep that in mind as well. But I think there is a reasonable approach being proposed here in the amendment under the discretion with respect to the character of the area. And the average house size does sit at around that 250 to 236 to 250 square metres, and this will sit some 8 times larger than that, which on its own scale would seem outside of the character of the particular region. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. I think everyone has had an opportunity to speak. I know that, and I didn't express it very well, but separating out the buildings was something that the director said could maintain the floor space but actually reduce the bulk on the horizon. So thank you, Councillor Carter, for articulating that much better. Councillor Cherry, would you like to close?
Madam Mayor, yes, I would like to. Look, I would like to present just, I guess, my rationale behind this deferral motion. I take on board all the points that have been brought out, and I empathise deeply with the applicants, with the value they bring to the community first and foremost, and I guess what they're trying to achieve to support their broader family. That I have deepest respect for, and I'd like to see them continue that. This motion is not about refusing this application in any way whatsoever. It's allowing them an opportunity to present something that is much more consistent with the growth of the village. And this is something that I will stand for very strongly in this chamber, as everyone has heard me say that Murrumbidgee needs a master plan, and this chamber has given them a master plan over the next, hopefully 6 to 7 months. But in essence, in lieu of the fact that we don't have that, this is something that I believe we need to hold the line for, but allow them ample opportunity that is now backed up by council resolution to come to us to say, this is what we present to you now, and we, speaking on behalf of the applicants, and they can say, okay, we've taken your points on board, we respect the authority of the chamber and the resolution, and therefore give them an opportunity to present that to us then. So I absolutely hear the points that Councillor Cameron brings forward about feasibility. I believe it to be extremely feasible because there is nothing directive, there is nothing prescriptive. This chamber is built on the ability to debate and the ability to compromise and the ability to negotiate certain outcomes, and that gives it plenty of leeway to do so. And obviously for them to come forward to our planning department with something a little bit more consistent and amenable to the community, I think is a really good opportunity for them. And I absolutely take the points on board of Councillor Burgess, and I am in exactly the same position to really raise and to acknowledge the input that Helen and Ian have given to the community through their businesses and through their broader service to the community. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Cherry. Councillors, we now have the opportunity to put this to the vote. All those. I'm so sorry, Councillor Flannery, but all debates now closed because the mover has closed off the debate with their second talk. All right, councillors will now put this to a vote. All those in favour of the recommendation before you. So that's Councillor Butler, Councillor Carter, Councillor Cherry, Councillor Jones, Councillor Cameron. All those against, Councillor Burgess, Councillor Rothwell, Councillor McGrath, Councillor Flannery.
Yes.
Did you? Sorry, I thought you voted with.
I did, sorry, I do want to change my vote. I'm voting with Councillor Cherry for the motion.
Okay, sorry, let's do a division. We'll do a division. Let's get this right.
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favour of the recommendation before you. So councillors online, we're going again and we're just counting again. Councillor Butler, Councillor Carter, Councillor Cherry, Councillor Jones, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Flannery. And all those against, Councillor McGrath, Councillor Burgess, Councillor Rothwell. Councillors, the motion is carried, and I very much look forward to accepting an amended DA as soon as practical. Okay, thank you, councillors. Councillors, we'll now move on to item 6.2, and Councillor Butler will take the chair online, so I will just I think Councillor Butler is going to do it online.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I had spoken to Tanya in regards to if this was allowable under our Act, which it is. However, I'm struggling to not only hear debate, which is cutting in and out, I also can't see everyone quite clearly. And I don't think it's appropriate at this point in time that I do chair. I just don't think that it's not a workable solution. I can't see anything on the board. If an amendment or anything comes up, I can't see any typing or any words. I don't think that we have the facilities for someone to be able to chair remotely at this point in time.
2 to 3 more months, Councillor Butler, and it'll all be different. Okay. In that case, if I could impose upon Councillor McBride again. Oh, sorry, I will depart so you can.
We have to
do
nominate.
that. You are correct.
Is that defer to the CEO? So the CEO is acting chair now, is that correct?
No, you'll need to identify an alternate person to now chair. This is a very unusual situation because the Code of Meeting Practice is predicated on the Deputy Mayor taking control in the absence of the Mayor, if she, in this case, is in attendance. But it doesn't sit comfortably when there's an audio-visual link, and given the difficulties, if neither of them are present, so I suppose for argument's sake, we're saying you're kind of not present there, Madam Deputy Mayor, but the councillors remaining would then amongst themselves propose who should take the seat of chair and vote on that.
I guess the question is, to choose somebody to sit in the chair, do we defer to the acting CEO to run that vote?
No, that's not a
So how do we do
So how do we do that?
that. You need, somebody needs to nominate, somebody here.
Nominate Councillor McGrath.
I second it.
Vote.
Vote. All in favour? That's fair. The other way. Thanks, Alan.
I've got it, thank you. Absolutely.
Is there a way though to perhaps move the camera out slightly? Because we can only see kind of a very short part of the room, so I'm not sure there's a way to adjust the camera.
Your full screen. No, you're not.
Yeah, you're very big on that screen, Councillor Cody.
An imposing presence, I understand.
I know, mate. Oh, it's madness.
Do you need to take your name over there, Councillor McGrath, or are you?
I think we can continue the debate though, if you want to, acting chair.
Item 16, councillors, modification development consent, Dan School, 26 Rose Street, Murrumbidgee. There is a recommendation.
Mr. Acting Chair, if I may, Chloe, sorry, Kate, can you bring up the amended motion, please? And I read for those that aren't in the room or can see the signed correction, the screen in front of them. Motion I put forward reads that 1, pursuant to section 455 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act of 1979, Council modified development consent DA 230577, 26 Rose Street, Murrumbidgee, by amending the hours of operation condition as follows. Monday to Friday, 9 AM till 9 PM. Saturdays, 9 AM till 4 PM. Sundays and public holidays, no operation. 2, with consideration of the matters required by section 415 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, The applicant's proposed hours of operating 9 till 9, 7 days per week are not supported, as it is considered they would unreasonably affect the amenity of the immediate and nearby residential receivers, noting that the site is located at an interface between business, commercial uses and residential uses. The amended hours are imposed in accordance with sections 415 and 417 of the Act to protect residential amenity. Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Terry. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Flannery. Councillor Terry.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair. My fellow councillors, I stand to move this motion, but I would first like to acknowledge my colleague, Councillor David Rothwell, whose compelling reasoning encouraged me to do my due diligence and bring this matter forward to you this evening. Anybody who knows me knows that I strongly support small businesses in the Yass Valley. I've promoted many of our local businesses through my platform as a councillor, and I will continue to do so, because I strongly believe that a thriving business sector underpins a vibrant community. Esteemed colleagues, allow me to be crystal clear. My position tonight is not against the applicant, nor against their business. On the contrary, I commend the owners of 26 Rose Street for bringing such a valuable opportunity to Murray Bateman. The 50 supporting submissions demonstrates just how welcome this initiative has been for their families, and I commend you openly and publicly. But our role here is not to run a popularity contest. Our statutory function is to act as a consent authority under the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act of 1979, and that Act compels us, under section 415, to consider the likely impacts of the development, including amenity impacts, and to consider the public interest. These are mandatory considerations, and we cannot ignore them. When this DA first came to Council in June 2024, staff recommended outright refusal on significant grounds: inadequate parking, unresolved traffic conflicts, inconsistent noise assessments and proposed tree removal. Council instead issued a deferred commencement consent, which was led by the Deputy Mayor, in order to allow the school to proceed but with safeguards for neighbours. The modification before us now concerns their hours of operation, and here I must be unequivocal. The applicant's request to extend hours 7 days a week is, in my view, highly unreasonable at this residential commercial interface. With consideration of section 415, I cannot support hours that would so clearly impact the quiet enjoyment of nearby homes. The motion I put forward tonight is a fair and reasonable balance. It maintains weekday hours from 9 p.m. as already approved, and allows Saturday classes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m, but provides no operation on Sundays or public holidays. This ensures the schools can thrive during core periods, including school holidays, while shielding residents from late night noise, weekend traffic, and loss of amenity on Sundays and public holidays. This is not an anti-business motion. It is a proportionate and legally robust outcome that supports the dance school but also respects the neighbourhood it sits in. Section 417 of the Act empowers this council to impose conditions for precisely that reason, to protect amenity where business and residential users meet. Finally, I want to note that traffic and pedestrian safety in this part of Murray Bateman, it is a broader issue that goes well beyond this modification of development consent. We must not forget the recent appeal this council received from a Murray Bateman primary school student. That heartfelt plea was a reminder that our decisions affect not just residents today, but the children who must navigate these streets daily. As a council, we have an inherent duty to carry that appeal forward and address safety in a comprehensive way through our broader traffic and infrastructure planning. So as the village grows, families can move safely and confidently through their community. So I implore the members of the local traffic management committee to take that into consideration during their future deliberations. And colleagues, my rationale here is simple. Support this local business, but not at any cost. Protect residents as the law compels us to, and make decisions that will stand up to scrutiny both in the Land and Environment Court, but more importantly, the Court of Public Opinion. Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Terry. Any speakers against? Councillor King.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start off by saying that I appreciate Councillor Cherry's motion. I think it's an attempt to some sort of conciliation in regard to this particular matter. The original Councillor Cherry has mentioned, the original council staff recommendation a year ago was against the dance studio being on this particular site. And I think Councillor Cherry has mentioned the reasons why. It was in fact overturned by councillors and the hours requested by the applicant was agreed to. And it makes me think that if these hours were now placed in that particular situation, would they have been agreed to in total? I'm not sure. Subsequently, we've heard that it was never intended to define or limit the business operating hours. As a business running for 14 years, as been pointed out, I would have assumed that the applicant would have made it clear at that particular time that this was class time only. 14 years in business, you would have made it specific and very clear of how it was going to operate, and that the operation might be much wider than that. Now we have a situation 5 or 6 weeks after operating beginning, I think, we have what is only an ambit claim, and an ambit claim of 12 hours a day and 7 days a week. We're now being told that they weren't, we got the impression that that wasn't really what they were after. To some extent, I find it a bit difficult to know exactly what they're after. It seems quite an excessive request, but one that seeks a response back. When you make an ambit claim, as we know, you don't assume that you're going to get it, but you do assume that you're going to get something. And I think that's what is being angled on this particular request. And in fact, council came back saying, yes, we'll do this, and we'll increase the hours by 45 hours a week. I think this particular motion is a much more reasonable response, because it does allow some respite from continual activity at the centre. However, I find it very disappointing. This particular business chose the site knowing that there was a range of neighbours, as I pointed out earlier, whose needs need to be respected. And it seems to me, from my perception, is that what we have here is a valuable business, and I make no bones about that, and I think it does serve the community well, but I think it seems to me as though what is the priority of the business owners is what's the benefit for them, and I don't think they're really respecting the neighbourhood that they're situated in, and which they should respect as well as they should. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Any further speakers in support of the Councillor Buck?
Through you, Mr. Chair. I just have a point of clarification to Councillor Cherry's address. He's pinpointed me and say that it was led by Deputy Mayor Butler. I find that irrelevant to any type of argument. I find it discriminatory and blaming, and I'd like that comment to be retracted.
Mr. Acting Chair, that was a point of compliment to the Deputy Mayor. If she has taken offence, then that's her problem.
Did you hear Councillor Cherry? Councillor Butler?
I heard, but could you please explain to the way that I understood what you were saying was that the council was set to outright refuse the DA on the grounds that you explained. However, a deferred commencement was then taken place due to me leading the race on that one. So I took that as a derogatory comment.
Mr. Chair, that wasn't meant as a derogatory comment, that was meant as a statement of fact, because Councillor Butler moved the motion. That was all that I was referring to, nothing else. And you can replay the speech if you wish.
It clarifies things for you, Councillor Butler.
I just find it irrelevant, and I'd like it to be retracted.
Will not retract.
Retracted or redacted?
It's on public. It's on public statement.
Councillor Cherry is not prepared to retract it, Councillor Butler.
It was not meant as a point of disrespect. If she has taken that as a point of disrespect, I apologise for that, but it is a statement of fact.
Thanks, Councillor Cherry. We'll move on. Any further speakers for or against the
I'm
motion?
speaking in support of the motion. When I read through the submissions, of which there were many, What's become really apparent is the difference between people that live in the area and how their amenity is affected. And in the area that I live, my amenity is often affected by people, as are many people in town, by others. And I really felt that doors opening, shutting all the time would be very distracting, kids coming in and out. And I think it's not the fault of the business or anything, it's the fault of the planning that is behind this. But at the same time, I do think that the people that live there, we do need to be mindful of that. And just as a little word of clarification, many of the submissions in support of the business were critical of the council, saying we're trying to stop business. By no means are we trying to stop business. We're trying to support business and also to retain the amenity that many people, that the people that live there want.
Thank you, Councillor Flynn. Any further discussion? Councillor Carter.
Just very briefly, I mean, I think it's really important, Acting Chair, that we recognise, of course, that it's a balance exercise in all of these decisions. And this is, I don't think the motion in my reading has no negative comments about the organisation. Congratulations on the work that it's done. It's important that there are these sorts of activities for particularly Murray and Bateman residents, but also for the broader Yass Valley. But we do have to note that against the interests of those that also live in the area. I agree with the comments from Councillor Flannery that there might be issues with respect to challenges around the planning components of the village more generally. But the point I think that's really important here in discussing this with each of the neighbours in the very close vicinity to the actual organisation. I hear stories of mothers of 4-year-olds afraid for their child to go outside during the day for the fact that they might get impacted by a car that's coming to park on their lawn or their verge or something similar. You hear stories about those that have spent money to try to minimise the noise to their property, so actually spending their own money to do that. I was somewhat disappointed when the question was raised by Councillor Cameron around have you consulted with people around you, that in fact the answer was not really, apart from another business. I would have liked to have seen a genuine attempt to engage with neighbours around the reasonableness of this request. I take Councillor Cameron's point that this might be an attempt, you claim the extreme in the hope that you get something more better than what you've got right now. But as the motion stands, there is a legitimate opportunity here for the organisation to run and continue to grow and expand its business in a positive way. So I commend the motion as it stands.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Any further discussion, councillors? Prepared to vote? Councillor Butler.
Councillor, yes, thank you. I'm going to speak against the amendment. I live in Murray and Bateman, and I've taken it upon myself during the time this business has been operational to drive past this facility at all hours. So 5 o'clock, 4:30, 6:30, 8:30, all different times. And I can tell you that this is functioning just as they said it would be. The car park is functioning normally. There is no noise. There is, and what they are a business operating in a commercial zone. So I understand and I empathise with people that are put out by this, but for people that purchase a property within a commercial residential area, there is inherent risk in doing that at all times. So I do think that the applicant has come to us to specifically regarding the Sunday, they have explained quite clearly exactly what their intention is with a Sunday. It would only be a few Sundays, only for a couple of hours, 1 or 2 people. And at the moment, they're having to actually hire a hall that's not fit for purpose for the Murray and Bateman community. And I just think that that's grossly unfair to penalise a business that they have to go and hire another facility to run a business like that. So I just think that this is unfair on a small business that's not just looking after themselves and not only just trying to do things for themselves, but doing things for the Murrum Bateman community, specifically children, which I am all in favour of. So I don't agree that this amendment is assisting this business at all, and I don't think it's being fair on them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Butler. Did you want to exercise?
Nothing, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Prepare the vote, councillors. I'll put the vote for the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Burgess, Councillor Flannery, Councillor Rothwell, Councillor Cherry. Those against? Councillor Butler, Councillor Cameron, Councillor McGrath. I declare the motion carried.
Yeah, well, basically, yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. We're now up to item 6.3, the development application update. And we have a recommendation before us that the report on applications for June and July 2025 be noted. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Seconded, Councillor Burgess. Councillor Rothwell, any comments? Councillor Burgess? Any questions? Councillor Cameron.
Through to Madam Mayor, to the Acting Director. Just a couple of quick questions. I had some correspondence from a resident here who talked about that in Queanbeyan Palorang, they had got their DA's numbers down quite a bit by using the Regional Housing Flying Squad, which I'm not sure whether it still exists. It does exist?
3,009, yes.
It does exist?
Yes.
Have we used it?
No.
May I ask why?
So it was, that has been a decision made by a previous director.
Right.
But the decision is based on the fact that that squad can create more work for our current team. So effectively, it's like contractors coming in, they don't know our systems, our processes, they have no local knowledge, and they have no delegation to actually approve anything. So all the work is done by them, but has to be signed off by council staff, therefore increasing the workload of our two senior planners.
Okay, thank you for that. That's good to know. I have heard that previously that there's organisational redevelopment occurring or happening within the organisation. The planning area seems to be understaffed. We're pushing for more and more people, if we can, to be placed in the planning area.
Through you, Madam Mayor, the organisational restructure is currently ongoing.
Yeah.
And resourcing of the planning team is being looked at.
It's being
looked at.
Being looked at.
It's being considered.
Okay, so we're trying to make that a higher priority within the organisation.
Councillor Cameron, I think we're at the point where we're going to have to take those questions on notice, given the fact that the director is acting in the position, and we're actually actively searching for our new director, and we have an acting CEO. So I think if you could forward that question via email, then we'll within the next fortnight be able to get that back to you. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Flannery.
I have a question on 6.3 around change of use. And just, if you had a business in Yass that was once, say, for example, a butchery, and you changed it, you came in and you bought it for something and you wanted to use it for another purpose, but it was in the commercial precinct, I'm just asking the question so I know there, is change of use included in these lists? Because I have had it reported to me that council is very slow to assess change of use. And I was just wondering, when we're accounting for new developments and things, is it in there?
So through you, Madam Mayor, the league table covers development applications only, but a development application, a change of use would be covered by a development application,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, so change of use for a business and new are in the same table.
If it's a development application, it's included in the league table.
Okay.
Councillors, do we have any debate? Okay, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation, note it. Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 6.4, the Murray Bateman Pump Track Project, Focus Group Name Change and Project Plan. We have a recommendation that Council accepts the change in name of the Focus Group to the Murray Bateman Pump Track Focus Group, and Council endorses the project plan for the Murray Bateman Pump Track. Do I have a move for that motion? Councillor David Rockwell and Councillor Butler. Councillor Rockwell, you have the floor if you want to.
Good. That's good.
Okay. Councillor Butler.
Sorry, I couldn't actually hear what Councillor Rothwell said, so I maybe just echo what he said.
He's passing the ball to you right now.
Okay. Well, lucky I was next in line to speak then. No, I'm fully supportive of this plan. I thank Council for clarifying the process that we will go through, because there was a few community members that had reached out to me in relation to the timeline of this project, which looked as though it was about 7 months long. But factoring in that we almost shut down for 2 months of those between the end of December and the end of February, there won't be much happening between that time. And so I think that the amount of work that is going into creating a really open and community-led, transparent consulting process in order to get to a site decision and looking at the project in its entirety is entirely fitting for the amount of time that's been given to it. I'd just also like to put on the record that just in relation to community need with this project, this has been a long time project. There has been some information that's been going around to say that this is a new project and maybe this is not what the community wants. But we found some information, dating back all the way to 2013, with petitions being drawn up by local children in the area wanting this project. In the 2017-18 operational budget, in fact, Council endorsed that there was $35,000 to go towards a BMX track for Murray Bateman. So that already demonstrates a huge amount of community need. So I think that the reason that this project has maybe not been spoken about so much between maybe 17-18 and now is that the community lost a huge amount of income to actually deliver something like this. And so I will make it my term's ambition to ensure that this project is delivered within this term. I don't know how, but we'll make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Do I have any further speakers? Councillor Flannery.
I have one question.
Chat.
I have one question I don't answer. Point 2 on the recommendation, that Council endorses the project plan for the Murray Bateman Pump Track. And I totally support, new recreation facilities are needed. But we heard from Ms. Caston in the presentations and she was saying that she had some specific changes that she noted and gave us some documentation around. So if we were to support this motion, is there a possibility that the project plan, as it says the project plan, is able to contemplate amendments, or is the motion saying that we sign off on, the project plan as attached? I just thought, what I would like the motion to say is council endorses a project, the development of a project plan for the Murray Bateman pump track.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. And just to add further before I ask the acting CEO to respond or delegate the response, in the open forum we were being asked to delete the common as a potential site because there are no pathways, and it was rejected in 3 surveys for
Other things.
for other things. So should we make that call now as a group of councillors to actually reduce it to 2 sites? So Hawthorn versus the rec ground sand arena.
I was thinking about that as well, and I do not want this to turn into the playground discussion where everything's moved. I think it would be good to narrow it down. I just felt that if we start making changes to a specific thing, like taking out the commons is probably a worthy topic, but I also feel that there might be some other changes that particularly Ms. Caston and others who have emailed in were recommending, and so could we continue to develop the project plan, or are we signing off on the specific lines or when because it says the, not a. So we can delete, because the recommendation doesn't talk about the different sites and things, so it's hard to delete something that's not in front of us, but it says the project plan.
So councillors, in the attachments you have the project plan that's been put forward by council. Councillor Butler, sorry, were you wanting to comment?
I just wanted to jump in there. I just would like to maybe direct my question to either the acting CEO or the acting Director for Environment Planning. To my knowledge, when the common has been considered, there's been never any formal process in terms of a council-led process to consider the common. I believe that the common has only been informally looked upon by the community. There's been never a formal process to actually look at that as a site. And in relation to footpaths, Hawthorn also doesn't have that. So I'd like to just make that point clear as well.
Okay.
Yep, through you, Madam Mayor. So the project plan is the process on how this project is going to grow legs and how we're going to consult with the community. So there'll be a whole heap of change and community consultation involved in this plan, or out of this plan. It details exactly how we're going to move forward, and there will be changes as consultation continues.
Okay, thank you. So should the recommendation be amended because you're talking about a verb, like a project plan, rather than a noun, the project plan, to endorses the development of a project plan? Is that what we're saying it is already, or is it a plan?
It is the project plan, as in how we're going to get the end result.
Development of a project plan.
Yeah.
I think we are missing a word, the development of a project plan. Unless I'm the only one that's reading it quite literally.
Yeah, no, we have the plan, but the plan is not the
Where it's going.
the final result.
Okay.
It is a process, yes.
Okay, as long as it's a
process plan.
It's a process.
Yes.
Sorry, through you, Madam Mayor. The project plan that is referring to is detailing the process of how we get to detail the project and the location.
Okay.
Through consultation.
Okay. Clear as mud. Excellent. Councillors, do we have any further comments? Before I hand over to Councillor Rockwell to wrap it up, can I just say that as a councillor who turned up in 2013 to a meeting with a couple of blokes from the pub and some keen 20-somethings who wanted to build a BMX track with some earth moving equipment over at the Red Ground. And finally getting it in the budget in 2017, only to see that fall through. I am super keen to see this go forward. And while we don't have a budget yet, I believe that if the community wants this, they will help achieve this result, much like our community out at Bynalong, who pretty much funded in its entirety the skate park out there. So as long as we see ourselves as facilitators of this project and give the community as much ownership as we can, they'll get the job done. But in the meantime, we have a very limited resources in our team. In fact, we have one officer trying to deliver, I think, at the moment, how many projects have we got? But more than that's on my hand right now, and our priority is certainly to deliver the playground and to keep that focus on that, razor sharp, so we can deliver that on time and to our federal budget requirements. But we hear the community, and I know it's frustrating when you've got to hitch your wagon to a local government engine, but we will get there together as a council and a community, and I want the community to know we hear them, and we've seen the petition, and we know that you want this pump track. Alright. Councillor Rothwell.
Well, I met with some very keen community members. It's going to be a wonderful project when it's complete. And if we can get all of Murrumbaton on board, that'd be wonderful, and get it built. So.
Thank you, Councillor Rothwell. Let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of the recommendation before you? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 6.5, the draft planning proposal for the field Stage 4 Isabel Drive Murrumbaton. It's a dangerous thing when the mayor has to go out and wait. I actually have an alternate motion that I'd like your indulgence with. So it's going to be up on the screen before you. And essentially it is that council supports the draft planning proposal to amend the Yass Valley Local Environment Plan 2013 to reduce the minimum lot size applicable to 8 lots within Stage 4 of the Fields development located on Isabel Drive, Murrumbaton, subject to the applicant providing satisfactory documentation that addresses or mitigates potential flooding impacts, cumulative impact of bore water draw and on-site effluent disposal. Councillors, do I have a seconder? Noting that you have the option to foreshadow the motion in the business paper as it stands. Yeah, Councillor Rothwell seconds. Okay, councillors, it's this point where I put it all on the line, and I actually asked the Director of, Acting Director of Planning, if she can see any issues with that motion.
Through you, Madam Mayor, no, the recommendation in the business paper is based on what was presented to council to assess the proposal. And yeah, those measures, those impacts that you've outlined there, if they can be addressed, yeah, there's really no reason why. As long as it's demonstrated, then yeah, it can be achieved.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, just one of those awkward moments that I haven't actually run a motion by the Director first, so thank you. Okay, councillors, as the seconder, Councillor Rothwell, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, I think it's good.
Councillors, any speakers against?
Well, yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to speak against. I'd actually like to foreshadow the recommendation from the staff as the motion put forward once we have voted on this.
Thank you, Councillor.
For reasons stated in the business papers.
Councillor Cherry, would you then like to speak against this motion? You're all good, okay. Councillors, any speakers for the motion?
This motion or the first motion?
So this motion, so not the foreshadowed motion, but the motion to support it going to Gateway.
I'll speak in support of it. Whilst I very much don't agree with the development by stealth, I kind of think that we continually chip away, and so it really goes against my grain to support something like this, but we have supported it in other areas, so it's hard to justify not to do it, particularly in an area that, if all the constraints have been analysed, because what I really dislike is continuous greenfield development. So if this reduces the continuous greenfield development, provides a range of housing options at a cheap price point, and retains amenity, I think it's a motion we should support.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Carter.
So I'm just speaking against the motion as it stands. We've just talked about character earlier this evening, and this nature of this development is contrary to that particular character. And I think we have to be really cautious about arguments which talk about reducing really, really large plots to slightly less large plots, and then talking about that being for cost of living and other challenges. The reality is it's still going to be comparatively large and still quite expensive. And lots of developers come in and talk about trying to increase housing density and other bits and pieces through that logic, because it's eau de jour, right? It's the right type of language to use. The short answer is that ultimately these are still going to be very significant size lots for a number of fairly wealthy people moving into the Murray-Bateman region. I support the original motion as suggested by by council and foreshadowed by Councillor Cherry.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Any further speakers? Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I honestly don't know whether to speak in support or not in regards to the recommendation or the alternate. I'm so confused by Murray-Bateman at the moment that I just feel like I can't even have a position at this point in time. And what this really highlights is that nobody knows what on earth is going on with Murray-Bateman, and it's really, really frustrating as not only a Murray-Bateman resident but as a Yass Valley councillor and a representative of the community. I honestly don't know. Like sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. What I do support affordable housing. I do acknowledge that we have a huge problem in Murray-Bateman especially. We need diversity. We need blocks that are $350,000. We need these types of availabilities for the community. But where do they go? No one knows. We don't have a master plan. Council doesn't have any sort of idea of where these blocks go. So I'm just frustrated by this, and I just wish that we would pick a lane and just stick to it. And I think that the only way we're going to achieve that is by getting on with this master plan.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, I'm speaking against it just briefly. It gets to me that we keep on looking at amending the Yass Valley Local Environment Plan 2013. It really seems to me as though this is part of the urgent requirement that Councillor Butler is talking about, that we need to make that a high priority to get that fixed up and make that a reasonable plan, rather than keeping on amending it all the time as developers come in and talk to council. I take the point from Councillor Flannery. It does seem to me as though it's development by stealth, increasing the numbers, and I don't like it. And I think that's why I'm going to vote against this one and go for the foreshadowed motion.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Do we have any further speakers? Councillors, I'll close the debate then with, I guess, the point that the housing is already possible through the dual occupancy. So these blocks have the ability to put a house on them already. What this does, and as you would know, when you build a house, you've spent every cent on that project. And so what this does is actually fast tracks the availability of blocks in Byron Bateman right now by allowing the developers to do it, and gives us the opportunity to use the developer to be the one to address how will the flooding impacts be addressed, how will the on-site sewerage and the board use be done, as opposed to dual occupies one at a time coming across the director's desk over the next 10 years. This fast tracks that into a manageable process now, particularly as we head into the opportunity for the settlement strategy review. I note that a lot of our strategic documents, from the South East Tablelands Regional Plan through to our own Yass Valley Local Strategic Planning Statement, put the focus of growth in Yass and Byron Bateman, and this does that. And this area is cited, is located in the area identified as large lot residential area in the settlement strategy, with the northern boundary of this site, the commencement of the 2 hectare minimum lot size. So it's, in answer to Councillor Butler's question, this is probably the most appropriate area before you get into the middle of a larger lot area. This is on the boundary. So I think it won't be inconsistent with the character, which Councillor Carter was also concerned about. I think the character, in the end, if dual occupancy is a possibility anyway, it's 6 eggs one way, half a dozen the other, because the built form and the impact on the environment will be similar. It's just the titles that will change, and the ability for the developer to sell the blocks now and get more people, more families in homes now. So councillors, let's now put that to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor McGrath, Councillor Jones, Councillor Burgess, Councillor Rockwell, Councillor Flannery. All those against? Councillor Cherry, Councillor Butler, Councillor Carter and Councillor Cameron. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors, for your very respectful debate. I appreciate all of yours. Councillors, moving on to item 6.7. Sorry, 6.6, I'm streaking ahead. Okay, the draft renewable energy community benefit policy. We have a motion before us. The council endorses the policy, and we note the requirement to establish a community consultative committee to advise council on suitable purposes for which community benefit contributions can be made, and exhibit this policy for 28 days, and the matter revert to council for consideration of final adoption at the end of the exhibition period. Councillors, do we have a mover? So moved Councillor Flannery and Councillor Rothwell. Thank you. Councillor Flannery, you have the floor.
I think it's very wise for the Yass Valley Council to develop a policy that means that we don't have a policy towards renewable energy and what they might be able to provide for our community. It means that we don't have this, particularly the staff members won't have this ongoing negotiation. We can take a much more strategic view. I just want to clarify, it doesn't mean that we are big supporters of renewables everywhere. It means that we have a negotiated platform and we can join with other places. And I just want to make sure that people understand that we're voting on a development of a policy, not support of renewables.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Do we have any further speakers? Councillor Cameron.
Just a question. I'm not sure who I'm directing this to. Community Consultative Committee. There doesn't seem to be a lot of detail about that. Is it? So my question is this a one-off committee? You establish one committee to look at all issues? Right. Okay. Does it? It says Community Consultative Committee. Have we got any idea of possible makeup, or is Is it sort of in the land of they?
It's my understanding that will be chaired by the mayor. It will draw on expertise from our community. And I think we've based that off, was it Armadale? Which has set up a future fund for their community. So instead of using
Little bits here
little
and
bits
there.
here and there for nothing significant, this can actually be used for, collecting all of those funds from various renewable energy projects and combining it into a futures fund to do something
Yeah, okay, thank you.
quantum leap. Yeah. Councillors, any further debate? Councillors, this is coming at us. Oh, sorry, Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, sorry. Look, when I first read this, and going on to page 53, I thought this was a good idea. The overarching intent of the draft policy is to require renewable energy companies to pay a premium for operating outside of a designated renewable energy zone. As I've mentioned to you, Madam Mayor, recently, I believe that the state government hasn't done enough to give advantage to those companies that did go into the reses, to make that a really attractive proposition, and to make it more difficult for those who didn't want to do that to go elsewhere. So I think, I'm putting the blame fairly and squarely on the state government. But when we talked the other day about, what happens if we're doing negotiations and the company says, basically get stuffed, we're not playing your game, then we go back to the guidelines. And I think, the policy is admirable, but it may be quite ineffective. And I'm just not sure where the policy is going to get us, whether we're going to get that extra premium. Thank you.
Councillor Cameron, I can absolutely assure you that I will use my due diligence to ensure that every opportunity to negotiate to that premium has been achieved for our community, and any submission against the proposal particularly will state that the developer refused to negotiate on the terms and conditions as agreed to, if council agrees to it tonight. I think it's really important to note that in the renewable energy zones, there are communities that have had stalled population growth or reducing their population, and they are in need of stimulus. And in terms of the land that's being utilised in some other areas, it is degraded. However, in Yass Valley, we have 81% amazing agricultural land. And the rest of that is our villages, our towns, our crown reserves, and our amazing natural features. Part of that 81% is the incredible cool climate wine region and the enormous potential of the growth corridor between here, Murray Bateman and Canberra. We should be placing a premium value on that. As the state government has not, it has not respected our 5 kilometre buffer zone on the other side of the ACT border, which this council resolved was to be the protected gateway, the differentiation between the metropolitan area and beautiful Yass Valley. So I look forward to opportunities going forward to decide how we want to see that go forward, because the state government has decided what it's going to be for us in the approval of 2 state significant solar farms in that area already. So I would like that control to be back in our community's hand as soon as possible with our review of the settlement strategy as well. So I'll now give you, councillor Flannery, the opportunity to close.
Before you
Oh,
do,
sorry, councillor.
I just want to ask a
McGrath.
question in respect of page 53. Table 2 outlines the rates which would be applicable to projects in Yass Valley. And we've got rates listed there of 1,062 per megawatt per annum of approved capacity for solar, 1,312 for wind energy, and 187 for battery storage. How did we arrive at these rates?
There is a guideline provided by the state government, and I think we've picked 25% above. We've valued ourselves more highly than the state
I'm
government.
just wondering why we don't value ourselves even more.
Even more.
And go from 100% above. You can always come down when you negotiate, but you can't go up. So,
An interesting point, councillor McGrath.
An amendment?
well, could I
Well, it
suggest,
doesn't,
could I suggest an amendment? 3,000 for solar, 4,000 for wind, and 1,000 for battery.
Can I say something? Just if I'm reading the recommendation, that the council endorses the draft renewable energy community benefit policy. Note the requirement to establish a community consultative committee to advise council blah blah. Exhibits the draft policy for public consultation for 28 days. I do think that we're lining ourselves up for something like in terms of we've put a rate there. I actually have no feeling of what the rate should be, could be, is. But I do feel with public consultation and then coming back to council, we have then a chance to, look at what the public feels about that. And, it would be great to get more money, but I think let's be realists and put an amount on the table and go with the recommendation to have rather than go back into the nitty gritty of changing elements on the table, because that all can be done when we are in the public consultation period.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think it would be best to put out a public exhibition as it is,
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
and then receive community feedback and then make changes based on that. Can I make my comment? I just wonder about point 2 in the recommendation, because we're assuming that will stay in the policy, but I think it should just be that we exhibit it. And then.
Sorry, just to clarify, you're recommending that we endorse the draft renewable energy community benefit policy, that you would like the point 2 omitted, that we don't establish a community consultative committee, but we exhibit. Is that what you're suggesting?
I think the consultative committee needs to be established, yes, but it is, the policy's going out on exhibition, it may be subject to, it's subject to community feedback.
Totally,
So,
And I don't think we're saying that we're going to set up the committee tomorrow.
no, that's fine, that's one.
it's not a step, it's not a stepped.
Correct,
Yes.
yes, it's not a timeline, okay. Look, councillor McGrath, I don't disagree with you at all, but I do note that the fallback position of the state government will be if the two parties can't come to an agreement, then an agreement will be made for us, and I would imagine that the closer we are to the guidelines, the easier it will be for the state government official to say, do what Yass Valley Council want you to do. But I admire your reach. So if there's no amendment forward, are you standing down or are you going to amend?
No.
You're standing down, okay, just checking, because I'm half on the fence here, so I'm just checking. Now we'll give you the opportunity for councillor Flannery to close.
No more.
Okay, alright, councillors, let's put this to the vote, all those in favour? That's unanimous, thank you councillors. Okay. Okay, councillors, on to 6.7, council's financial future, financial sustainability roadmap. We have a recommendation to adopt the updated financial sustainability roadmap. Do I have a mover? So moved Councillor Carter and Councillor Cherry. Councillor Carter, you have the floor.
I won't say anything because my voice is going, so I'll pass to Councillor Cherry. I'm also going to have to leave the meeting, unfortunately. I've got to get some medication, so I'll wait till the.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Carter.
You're not looking well, Councillor Carter.
Thank you for having you.
You look
Councillor Cherry.
Madam Mayor, no, to point out, if I'd just like to give the CFO any opportunity to speak if you wish to present anything from this forum.
That's it.
Oh, thank you. One of like a village director corporate community, it was a joint effort in the broader team to bring this together. I think it's a good roadmap. There was some good feedback from the 5 submissions, of which we considered and have incorporated some into the roadmap. And I think it's important that we stay the course and implement the measures and actions to move us into more financial sustainability.
Thank you, Director Maguire. Do we have any further speakers? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you for the comments. I think the roadmap, as I've said before, is an excellent idea, which recognises the financial difficulties that council faces. As you said, there were 5 submissions, which doesn't sound like a good result, but I thought the submissions were extremely comprehensive and many valid points were made. Just as an example, the suggestion of community participation via a critical friend approach is an important idea that would add value to the initial idea. I don't want to go on too much, but I think when you think about a roadmap that's looking to the future, but I don't think, and I probably made mention of this previously, but I don't believe that this council has examined fully the past and being able to see the errors and weaknesses that were made in the past and which we need to avoid in the future. So to my mind, it does not engender a strong degree of confidence in where we are heading. And I basically don't believe that the revised roadmap has been sufficiently inclusive of the key points made in those very worthwhile submissions and to warrant my support on this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I think we don't have any further comments. All right. I'd just like to note myself that I found those submissions quite pleasing in that they acknowledged the work that has been done and the relief that there is a roadmap. And I take on board that we can't take anything for granted and we need to keep our focus razor sharp. Councillor, can we have another comment?
Oh, a question.
Okay.
Sorry. There's a comment there that says that council, which I think is really good, council will respond to each submitter, which I think is a really good idea, as long as it's not just a polite response saying thanks for your submission. Is this going to be a bit more of a detailed comment saying why we've included some of your comments and I'm not sure. I think it's a good idea, but I'm not sure what it entails.
Madam Mayor, I'll check with Director Corporate Committee. I believe we have responded back.
So having drafted those responses.
They're drafted, yeah.
We're waiting for your endorsement of the plan prior to sending them out. In case you say you don't like it, and then we have to alter our response. But they are tailored to each submission.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Flannery.
I do endorse that, the good work that's been done. Just 1 or 2 questions on the financial sustainability roadmap, and it goes to the third point, that there were concerns raised about the adequacy of developer contributions to fund infrastructure in growing areas. And I received some comments from people saying that developers, or some of the developments in Yass, not Yass, sorry, Murray Bateman, hadn't paid, or that they were owing money towards our sewer and water contributions. And I just would like to know if that's rumour, or if they're, when their developer contributions come in, are they paid before the developments are given? You know, or how the big infrastructure like water and sewer is paid for in Murray Bateman.
So, yeah, would you like me to respond then? Through
Through the CEO, yes.
And so my understanding is, with the developer contributions, they are invoiced, and the planning team do develop those and raise those, and my understanding is that they do need to pay those invoices fairly, like they have to be paid within the term of the invoice terms. I can check if there are any outstanding, but I don't believe they quote me on that.
Any exceptions we have to come to council for the work they've been guaranteed.
So if we have a further comment, that's acceptable, thank you.
Well, we can't issue we can't issue a subdivision certificate, for example, without that invoice being paid. So there's a whole point there, and it's the same for a construction certificate for a dwelling. So if we issue an invoice, we're not going to release their subdivision certificate, construction certificate until it's paid.
So effectively, just in summation, the developers in Murray Bateman don't owe the Yass Council money ahead of their development, there's no debts on it.
Not that I'm aware of.
And I think we had one back in May, we raised the invoice and it was paid within 2 days of getting the invoice.
I think I've asked this question before, and there was mixed answers about, do our developer contributions actually cover the cost of servicing those areas? And it's not really a question for now, it's slightly rhetorical, but I would just like that to be kept in our head about what's coming in and how much it costs to service different areas.
I might ask the executive, are there instances where it comes back to council and we defer those payments to like a certain stage of the development to allow them to gain some equity?
Through you, Madam Mayor, yes, they can be deferred.
Alright, councillors, we have a recommendation before us to adopt the financial sustainability roadmap. If there's no further comments, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Except Councillor Cameron, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, alright, so all those in favour? Councillor McGrath, Cherry, Jones, Burgess, Rothwell, Flannery, Carter and Butler. Those against, Councillor Cameron. The motion is carried. Okay, councillors, 6.8, the monthly financial report. We have a recommendation that would be noted. Do I have a mover? That motion that the monthly report be noted. Thank you, Councillor McGrath, and seconder. Councillor Burgess, thank you, well done. All those, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, any comments? Amazing. Any debate? Okay, let's put that to the vote, all those in favour? It's unanimous. Oh, sorry, yes, and I just note for the meeting that Councillor Carter departed, I believe 7:05? Yeah, okay, thank you. You did well to hang in that long. Okay, and now I'm not sure, did we just go on that? We did, didn't we? Lovely report, thank you. councillors, we have before us the revotes and carry forwards for 24-25 to 25-26. The recommendation is that these be approved and the budget details in this report as carried forward be noted. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Cameron, seconded by Councillor Flannery. Any discussion? All those in favour? So moved unanimously. Item 6.10, the investment and borrowing report. We have a recommendation that that be noted. Councillors, can I have a mover? So moved Councillor Cherry, seconded Councillor Rothwell with a scratch on his face. Any comments or debate? Thank you, councillors. We'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? It's unanimous. You wouldn't want to be at an auction with me, Councillor Rothwell.
No.
6.11, Crago Mill Precinct borrowings. We have a recommendation that we note the annual review of the Westpac loan facility as being completed, and that the Mayor and the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to use the council seal to sign the business finance agreement with Westpac to extend the interest-only period for a further 12 months. So moved Councillor McGrath and Councillor Burgess. Thank you, Councillor Burgess. Any comments? Councillor Cameron.
A question to the CFO, if I can, Madam Mayor. What's the, with point 2, to extend the interest-only period for a further 12 months, the impact on, for us in the short term, what's the reason and what's the impact in the medium term?
So, thank you, Councillor Cameron, through you, Madam Mayor. So, if you recall back when we sort of developed a long-term plan in the budget for 25-26, and we'd factored into the budget for this year coming that we would extend the interest-only period. One of a couple of reasons. One is to help us manage our cash flow. We're still in a construction phase of the build, and also, it's common practice to continue with your interest-only period of a loan until you finalise construction. Then you revert back to a principal and interest loan. The thing is, if you get into your principal and interest loan, we've got a facility that's up to $50 million. Once you start going to principal and interest, your availability of accessing up to $50 million reduces because your principal reduces the loan. So we lose that flexibility to be able to, if we are, because currently stage 2 is under review, but if we were to fully complete the project, we would have a reduced amount of loan that we could draw down by about around about $1.5 million, which could impact the project. So that's one reason. And two, with our cash flow and managing our bank, we don't have as much paying off the principal of the loan, we're just addressing the interest. If we then revert back, then we revert to principal interest at construction once we're finished, then obviously it'll adjust our principal and interest payments over the remaining term of the loan.
So that'll go up?
Slightly. Slightly. I mean, obviously the overall cost will probably stay the same, but the cash flow of the principal we pay in each year will go up.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, councillors, if there's no further questions or debate, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour of the report before you, 6.11. That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, I'd like us to block move 6.12, 6.13, 6.14 and 6.15.
Not 6.13.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. So 6.12, 6.14, 6.15 into confidential. If I could have a move, please. So move councillor Burgess and councillor Flannery. And that now brings us to item 6.13. Oh, sorry, sorry. We voted? Oh, sorry. All those in favour of moving those into confidential? Thank you, councillors. It's clearly getting late. Moving on to item 6.13, the Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference 2025. Okay, we have a recommendation before us, councillors. We need to understand who's going to the conference, and I needed to ask you. Okay, so councillor Burgess, we will arrange for a few things to happen at Australia Day.
Well, that's when I've seen everybody else get their 20-year medals for that.
Okay.
Not, I'm not going down there. I don't know those. No one knows me down there. Who would know me? No one. So why would I go down there?
All right.
To put up with it. Yeah.
They don't know what they're missing.
I don't want to play.
So councillors, in that case, sorry, councillor Cameron, you have a question?
Well, we need to change August to September.
Thank you, councillor Cameron.
And while I'm standing on my feet, could I nominate councillor Cherry to be our councillor representative?
Okay, does councillor Cherry accept that nomination?
I do, Madam Mayor.
Okay, do we have any further nominations for the delegation to the conference? Could anyone indicate if they're interested in going? That sounds like it's a done deal.
I'm going to represent you, sis.
Good on you. We've got 30 years.
Okay, so we have the Mayor, Councillor Cherry, and the Chief Executive Officer, or their delegate, to attend the 2025 Local Government Conference. Councillors determined above be the voting delegates, and any motions, councillors, we do need to have these in by our September meeting so we can forward them on. So I'm not sure whether we'll have time for a workshop, but please start percolating on those ideas. I'm sure there'll be a few revolving around the recent drought summit and trying to put some of those things into actions, and potentially on renewable energy, cumulative impacts, I imagine. So we'll see what comes forward. Councillors, if there's no further debate, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? Didn't move in second.
Okay. I'll happily move that motion.
Thank you, councillor Cherry. Councillor Cameron?
Second.
Thank you, ladies, for saying yes. All those in favour? Councillor Butler, was that a yes? Was that a vote? Yes, thank you. Unanimous. Councillors, just moving now on to the 616, the Yass Water Treatment Plant Upgrade Project implementation. We have a recommendation for us to note the updated report and the work completed. So moved Councillor McGrath, seconded Councillor Burgess. Thank you. Do you have any comments from Acting CEO?
I've been through you, Madam Mayor, so this is our bi-monthly update on the water treatment plant upgrade project. It is moving along well. We have our design contractor engaged. They're well and truly in the works. Within the report there, you can see that we've done some preliminary investigations at the water treatment plant existing, and we're at about a 30% design for the new water treatment plant. The timeline is still, there's minor changes in the short term, but the long term, the final completion date is still November 28 at this point in time.
Thank you, Acting Director. Acting CEO.
It's the time.
Yeah, it's getting late. Councillors, any further comments or debate? Let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to the reclassification of land, 1095 Springlands Road. We have a recommendation it be classified as operational land in accordance with section 3.1 of the Local Government Act 1993, and I have hands everywhere. Councillor Cherry and Councillor Cameron, McGrath.
Age before beauty.
Councillor Cherry, would you be amenable to an amendment to once again thank the Burnells family for their...
I was just about to mention that, Madam Mayor.
Okay, on your feet.
Absolutely, on your feet. Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, yes, thank you. I am very happy to push this motion because I think the Burnells family has been just so kind to the Yass community, in particular the New South Wales Rural Fire Service. I've spoken to a couple of members from the station in that region, in Springlands Road, and they have nothing but praise and they're just extremely grateful, and I think this is a fantastic outcome for the Yass community, and I would like to openly and publicly thank the Burnells family for their generosity, and if you'd like to include that in the motion, that would be much appreciated.
Thank you. Noting that we've already presented a certificate and attended an afternoon tea, so we don't have to further write and thank them. So just that for clarity, council in this meeting thanks the Birchall's family for their generous donation of land for the New South Wales Rural Fire Service facility share. Okay. Councillor McGrath. You're ready, okay, let's vote. All those in favour?
I feel like it's a puzzle.
That's unanimous. Yeah.
I know, like,
Councillor Cameron, you have a notice of motion, 7.1, the Local Government New South Wales Water Management Conference.
Move.
Could you?
stand up, sir.
On your feet.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to move that.
Do we have a seconder?
Yes, I'll second.
Councillor McGrath. I'll just speak to it briefly. Water is going to be our major issue for this council. At the last, I mentioned at the last election that we had a conference and we had 40 or 50 people attend the meeting. And what surprised me a little bit there was the question of supply. I expected the issue was going to be quality of water, which has been around for a long time. And I think the supply of water is also a major issue as well. Can I just say that the conference, I've looked at it carefully and it's very demanding actually. There's a lot in it and some good speakers. And it's only held every couple of years, so I think it's important that we have a councillor and a staff member going.
Councillors, to that effect, I'd like to nominate Councillor Cameron to attend the conference so we can amend the motion to identify the councillor. And just noting that we're all not bulletproof, sometimes things happen and things come up, so would you like to arrange an alternate just in case? Would they like?
Oh no, I was going to, sorry, I just wanted to, I would personally love to go, but because of the time, unfortunately, but if there's another opportunity to attend in 2 years, that would be, and it's during this term, that would be marvellous, but I think we already have one staff member attending.
Correct.
So we might need to amend it. Well, I don't know if we need to amend it because we already have a staff member going, so we just sit through the council.
I think that motion just identifies what's already happening.
Okay.
So if you want to provide a backup, that's probably not a bad thing to sort out just in case.
Well, we'll find someone, but it is only a couple of weeks away.
Yes,
That's the
okay.
problem.
All right, Councillor Cherry, were you okay at being Yes? Okay.
As an alternative, councillor.
Correct, so if we identify councillor Cameron as the main option, but if an alternate is required at short notice, that councillor Cherry is available. That's terrific. Okay, let's put that to the vote, councillors, if there's no further debate. That's unanimous, thank you. Councillors, we have a question on notice regarding the Yass Valley Council tree management, and there is a response provided. Councillor Cameron, a question on your question or a motion?
No. Can I, it's not a motion. I'm sort of very interested in the arborist issue. I'm not sure why we don't share an arborist with Croker. Like, there must be arborists at other councils, and I'm sure they're not flat out. Maybe they only work one day a week or so, but I think we should be exploring that. The reason why I'm standing, Madam Mayor, to talk to the governance officer, I finally figured it out. Could you please look at 9.14 in the Code of Conduct? I got it wrong the other day. First mistake I've made this year.
According to you.
9.14. I think it really is difficult to understand what it actually means in regard to questions on notice and what can be done afterwards. So I want to raise a point of order. If the government person wanted to take me on, it should be fine. But I'd like clarification on that. Because it's quite ambiguous how it reads. I'll leave it at that.
I'll take it that's a question without notice that we can answer at our leisure after this meeting.
Yes, something like that.
Okay, councillors,
May I
moving.
add something? Sorry, I know we're all here, but may I add something to 8.1, which is not a question on notice, but it is a question which I'm yet to get an answer, is a number of people have contacted me about roadside trees, gums, big trees that have been removed. Lachlan Valley Way. Burley Griffin Way, I was about to get that completely wrong, so thank you. I may have been contacted by 10 or 15 people that we have, people that are demanding council smarten up and look at our trees in our built-up urban areas, but I had absolute silence on these trees, and I mean it may be managed by someone outside the council, but I do feel that we should take a much stronger stance. There are some very, very big trees removed, and I find it disgraceful.
Okay,
It's an R&S,
Road work.
It may well be, but the kind of clear felling is not acceptable.
Councillor Flannery, I would suggest that you take a leaf under Councillor Cameron's book and lodge a question with notice, because unfortunately we don't have an item anymore which is questions without notice. So it's very hard to keep the meeting on track.
I will keep it. I will
because we're not
speaking.
actually allowed to debate the questions or the responses to the question in the meeting. And I've allowed another councillor, yourself, to take us even away from this particular item.
I take everything on board, and I vaguely apologise that I did ask this question outside the other day, outside this forum, and I have not received a response, and it does matter to me, clear fellow trees.
I reject it, councillor. All right. I'm constrained by the rules around this section of the meeting. Councillors, I believe we will take all of that on notice. Moving forward, item 9.1, the amended minutes of the Murray Lake and Recreation. Sorry, I need to accept that question and vote on it. That's its acceptance. Councillor Cameron?
No, just vote.
Okay, let's vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillors, 9.1, the amended minutes of the Murray Lake and Recreation Ground Focus Group on 24th of March 25. It requires an amendment as detailed below, and the recommendation is then is that it be noted. Can I have a mover, please? So moved Councillor Cameron and Councillor Fleury. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. Item 9.2, the minutes of the Yass Pool Redevelopment Project Committee meeting. A recommendation that that be noted. So moved Councillor Cherry, seconded Councillor McGrath. Any comments?
Just one comment, and thank you to the staff, in particular, the former Director of Planning and Environment, Ms. Julie Costa, and to the Acting Chief Executive Officer, Sam Cook. Obviously, they're both members of this committee, and myself as the Chair, and to the other staff that are obviously supportive of that committee. I really appreciate them taking the time and due diligence of taking this.
Thank you, Councillor Cherry. Any further comments? Okay, let's put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We've now come to the end of our open part of our council meeting. And there is no one in the gallery to ask if there is an objection to it going into confidential. So I'll now call on councillors to put the motion to move into confidential. If I could have a mover.
So moved.
Councillor McGrath and Councillor Cherry. All those in favour? It's unanimous. And we will now close the meeting to confidential.
Thank you for coming.
I'm assuming that that's not on, or it is. We're on, okay. So in confidential, council resolved that the tender submitted by Arcon Civil Pty Ltd under tender YVCIA 2025 be accepted for a total cost of $836,866.82, and that's for the tender YVCIA 2025, which is the footpath from Walker Park via Julia Place, Shore and Pitt Streets to Barimba Public School. The 10.2, the update on compulsory land acquisition without agreement for replacement low-level road crossing on Greenwood Road over Murray-Bateman Creek. Council has adopted the recommendations in the confidential report. 10.3, the YVC CC 15 2025 digitisation of building files. Council has resolved that the tender submitted by TIMG for YVC CC 15 2025 digitisation of building files be accepted for a total cost of $72,500, excluding GST. And 10.4, the electric vehicles charging station Crago Mill Precinct. Council resolved that council staff undertake an EOI process to determine interested parties for the installation, operation and maintenance of 9 electric vehicles EV charging stations in Adele Street in Yass as part of completion of stage 1 of the Crago Mill Precinct redevelopment. And that 2, the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to engage in negotiations with preferred EOI organisation to secure licensing arrangements for the installation, operation and maintenance of 9 electric vehicle EV charging stations in Adele Street in Yass as part of completion of stage 1. And through such negotiations, seek to achieve a fair and reasonable stream of income to council based on due diligence on market rates for accommodating such facilities and in consideration of the EV company covering startup and operating costs of the facilities. And 4, negotiations propose that council will not be burdened with any future costs for upgrade or decommissioning of infrastructure should the need arise during the life of the agreement. And 5, the Chief Executive Officer report back to the October 2025 ordinary meeting of council on the outcome of negotiations. Council as a community, that ends our ordinary meeting of council for Thursday 28th of August. Thank you for watching.